Refill your water before we get going.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
That's going to last you another 30 minutes?
All right.
So you know this about
We haven't
him.
even started. He's like sitting there just like eating cheese and panting. I'm not knocking you.
Cheese gets me worked up.
Yeah, I just don't want you to.
Justin, I have never seen anybody wear a shirt like that, but it is so damn cute. It is really
Got a
cute.
woman on it.
Yeah, it is. I've never seen anybody wear a shirt like that. I mean, it's wonderful.
is a
You have
nice
to
shirt.
smile. Makes
Yeah.
you smile. Yeah.
Smiling is important.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
You feeling good?
I feel great.
You have a good vacation?
I didn't have a vacation. What are you talking about?
Last week
Oh,
we
last
talked,
week.
and then you were going right down the
I
beach.
went down to the beach to work. I literally just to work off the grid. That's what I went down for. And then I did some fishing, didn't catch anything. The current was really strong, so I had like a 3-ounce weight on the bottom, and I was still getting dragged. I'm like, this is no good.
I feel like it's been a little while since you caught a fish in the ocean.
In the ocean, yeah, it's been. Well, I didn't fish all last season, and then I was just catching stingrays.
I was there. I was there
Yeah.
for the stingrays.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I
Aren't
caught a
they-
big one. It was a big girl. She
when
was-
you catch those, can't you get stung?
well, their tails in the back, so they have like these gill
Yeah.
plate. They have
Yeah.
these like kind of like cartilage gill plate
Yeah.
behind their eyes, so you can pick them up. And
Okay.
the tail, I always face them where their face is kind of towards me, so the tail
Right.
would only go out. They're not
Right.
you're not gonna get hit by
Yeah,
it.
I think those are very dangerous. In fact, wasn't there this guy who was in charge of all kinds of?
Steve Irwin?
Isn't that the one who died from
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, but he was swimming over one.
Oh,
So when I pull him in, I pull him to the shore.
Yeah.
And then I take the hook out. And you can,
Yeah.
I mean, they have the barbs, but they're near their like, tail or butt.
I think it
whatever you
also
wanna
like
call it.
went into like his
It
heart or
hurt.
his
And he
chest.
pulled-
yeah.
no, is that frightening?
Rest in peace, Steve Irwin.
So,
he was a good dude.
This
Yeah.
this episode's dedicated to Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
Okay. He's got his 2 kids too. He's got Bonnie, his
Yeah.
daughter, and
they
then
taken over.
then I forget his son's name, but his son looks just like
Yeah.
him.
And he goes on
Yeah.
he goes on shows with all the animals like his
Yeah,
dad did.
that's great.
Rest in peace.
Dynasty.
All right, everyone. Well, welcome to Tea with Fran.
Yeah.
Fran, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, except it's very warm outside.
Okay.
Right? And so it is difficult for me to be out in the garden. I also am wishing for rain. Otherwise, no complaints.
We're gonna have to work on a rain.
A rain
Dance.
dance.
Yeah.
Next week we're getting hammered. I'm pretty sure.
You think?
I checked the weather. At least I checked it down the shore. I know we're getting a lot down.
Well, pull it up here. We really need it.
There we go. And Justin, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Awesome. I'm doing okay. If anyone's wondering out there.
Oh.
We're not, Kevin.
Well, last week we were talking about vacation, and we kind of turned off the mics. And then Justin, you remembered a couple
Yeah.
other stories you wanted to add. I'll start with the quicker one. Explain to the listeners out there what cooler hopping is.
Okay, so this is when cooler hopping. It's illegal. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is hopping from cooler to cooler. But now these coolers aren't yours. So growing up, I had a beach house, and all these houses are like right on top of each other. They're like 500 square foot little bungalows, and it's just rows of them. So when I want to say around 16, I had summer friends, and we would go up to the beach late at night, and we would just hang out, and just cause a ruckus, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
And we would, get to a point where like we want booze, but none of us had any older siblings that were down there, so we came up with this thing. And I think my one buddy, his older brother, did it when he was younger, so he kind of like showed us. But what we would do is we would go cooler hopping. So a lot of these people would leave the coolers on the outside of their house, so we would run up to the cooler and snag a few beers. And we were doing it every night. And it was like every time you're just hitting like beer out. It's a jackpot. And I remember a few times where you'd go in and we would just, you wouldn't really look. You would just grab. And I remember grabbing like non-alcoholic beer at times, which was funny because we get all bummed out. We're like, oh no, this isn't good. And we got to a point where I remember we met some other kid on the beach, and there was like 6 of us, and his family was having a party, and we're outside, and we're all of us are probably like 15, 16, 17, so we're not of age to drink. But they had this cooler that was huge. It was like a monster.
Okay.
And we didn't say, let's just take a few. We said, let's get the whole damn thing. So we stole this person's entire cooler, and ran it up to the beach, dumped it out, and that was enough beer for like 2 nights. That we had a good time. But I look back on it, I'm like, I've never, besides stealing beer from people when I was a kid, I've never stolen anything. Like I've never gone into a retail store. I could never do it. But the cooler hopping, that was exhilarating. Something about it, because sometimes people would, see you and you'd have to run away real quick. And then it got to a point where everybody was no longer putting their coolers out. They like informed the security, so they'd have cops driving around, and people were getting caught. And I never, fortunately, got caught. Kevin partook in it.
I was there for a couple excursions.
Yeah.
And and I remember the effects. I remember seeing some kids not be able to handle it and just throwing up in the
I remember one friend, he was crawling on all fours. It was one of the first times he probably drank, and he was just puking. And we went over to the beach, and we were with other people. We went over, and he was just like so sick. It was just, but that's, when you're young, it's just like, oh, alcohol, and you just drink it and you get sick.
What a wicked thing it is that you could see someone like that and like suffer
you were
yourself.
Like, oh, that sucks, and you just keep drinking.
And then want to continue to do that. Before we move on, you ever think about, putting a cooler out there to see if kids are still doing it? Maybe putting a six pack out there.
My beach house wouldn't be prime real estate. We'd got the ones closer to the beach where they had more patio area. I would have to put mine kind of near there. It'd have to literally be a track.
All right, yeah, maybe not a good idea. Fran, you ever steal anyone's cooler or beer?
No, I never did.
How were you getting the beer when you were in college?
I never had beer in college. Okay. I never even had a drink until I was in a wedding, and that they had champagne, and I had already graduated from college.
God bless you.
Yeah, well, I just remember, I told you I had an unusual childhood.
Yeah, true. Well, Justin, there was one more story, and we talked about the joys of vacation.
Yeah.
The terrors of it.
Now there's also the perils of it.
Yeah. Yes. I was a wee little chap at the time, probably 3 or 4. And I was on the beach with my family, and my dad was walking back to the house, and I went to my mom, and I said I had to go to the bathroom. She said, "Oh, just catch up with your father." And he was a ways away. I'm a little guy, my legs are only my stride's nowhere near as long as a full grown man. So, I guess because there's like a smaller dune, so you kind of go over the dune. I guess I ended up following someone else back to their house, and as this guy went in his house, I realized, I'm like, oh, this isn't my house. So what I did, I walked up and down the streets looking for my house. I'm wandering, and my dad goes back to the beach, and my mom asked him, she's like, "Timmy, where's Justin?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I had him follow you back home." And my dad's like, no, you didn't. I got to the house. He was nowhere near me. Like, what are you talking about? And my mom was frantic. She's like, oh my God, like, where's Justin? And it became this, whole thing where she's telling the lifeguards. And I'm at this point, I remember a couple things, like our house was like a deep charcoal gray, and the house I got to wasn't gray. So I just figured keep looking for houses, and then ended up going like 1 or 2 beach towns down, because I went to the shore and walked the shoreline. I like the beach, so I wanted to be near the ocean. So I was just walking the shoreline, and it took a good chunky yardage for someone, an older couple to realize like this kid's by himself, and we watched him walk from that, from there to there, and no one's near him. So they ended up, bringing me to lifeguards, and at this point, my mom is like frantic, and she's doesn't know like I'm found, or doesn't know where I am, and there's people coming up there like, oh, we'll help find your kid. And my mom's yelling at them. She's like, you probably took him, you sicko. She's freaking out at these people. And I eventually get reunited, and I vaguely remember like it was like almost like Baywatch. Like my mom sprinting over, like crying. And I don't know how long I was lost.
That's not how most people remember Baywatch.
Yeah, my mom was running over actually in slow motion. But it was just I remember a couple key things, but I remember my mom like crying hysterically. I remember the different color house, walking on the shore, and then my mom crying.
Did you ever feel afraid?
No. I was at the beach. I wasn't like crying like most. I don't know if most kids would just stop in their tracks and just cry like, oh, where are my parents? I said, well, I'm just gonna do whatever it is I'm doing. I think I was wearing a Devils jersey or a Yankees jersey and just carrying a little bucket and shovel with me, and I was just walking around.
Justin.
I made it.
You
Maybe
did.
I'm not the real Justin. I don't know. They swapped me out for somebody else.
No.
Just another lost
Yeah.
kid.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
Well, do you want to try to get in touch with your mother to hear her
Yeah,
side of it?
my phone's recording, so if you want to call her,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think she's out right now, but give her a call.
She's she says she's free currently.
Okay. Oh, you texted.
I'm calling you on speaker.
Yeah.
First time doing this, folks. Someone calling in or us calling out.
That's exciting.
Hey.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You're on the podcast with Kevin and Fran.
Oh, wow.
Hello, Arlene.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We were just talking about the time you abandoned your only son at the beach.
Dear Lord. Making me lose my Mother of the Year award again.
We wanted to hear your side of it. And also, how long was I gone for?
It was a while, probably 45 minutes longer.
And how old was it? How old was I? 3, 4?
You were about
11.
you were about 4.
Okay.
And you were carrying your little bucket, and you had your little Yankee
hat, okay.
And you were just so cute. And so we went to the beach.
Yeah, they know the full story. What we were talking about was when you were accusing people of stealing me.
Oh, well, that's what you do when your child goes missing. That's your natural instinct to suddenly it's somebody did something bad, and it's not a fun feeling in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely, yes, people were trying to be helpful in our area, and I just, I just tended to think that,
You went like protective, like Karen mode.
Yeah,
They had bad intentions.
Yeah. No, I went full out mother lion. Like I was ready to, what'd you do? Where is he? And it's just what you do. I can't explain it. I think Fran might have an idea of the
terror
moment of panic.
Exactly.
And that feeling that comes over you.
Yeah. Fran, did you ever lose a child? I mean, like what, like on vacation or anything like that?
No, I'm very fortunate.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom, I might not be the real Justin. You got swapped out. I got swapped out for somebody else.
No, you're definitely my Justin. Because when you were born, you had that little tiny birthmark on your arm.
Mom, you're not supposed to talk about my penis like that.
Jesus.
Well,
all right. Well, I love you. We'll,
Thank
talk
you,
soon.
Arlene.
Bye.
Thank you.
and I'm
Thank you.
so sorry that I lost you.
Yeah, I still hold it against you to this day. Just remember that. Love you. Bye.
No,
Just hang up.
I love it.
She's great.
Getting lost. Not always fun.
Right.
I'm sure I definitely was out of sight a couple times as a child.
Right.
But I could just picture my mother screaming at me, and no matter how far away I was, just knowing
Right.
to get back nearby.
Did your mom use your middle name when you were in trouble? Like yelling? My mom used to yell Justin Charles, and that was when I was like, oh man, I knew I was in trouble.
I was just such a good kid. I just never had that problem. Now, since my name is Kevin, and I came out around the same time as that Home Alone movie, and the mother screams Kevin in that.
Oh yeah.
She said that whenever she screamed my name, she thought of that movie. So I got just Kevin.
Oh, gosh. Well, if my mother were alive, she would have a story to tell you about that was as much of a frightening experience as what your mother had.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When I was like 2.5, 3, toddler, a true toddler, not talking too much, we went to visit my dad's mother. And that was in South Georgia on a big cotton and tobacco farm. And she lived in a really big house with a porch that went all the way around the house.
I'm picturing almost like a plantation.
Kind of, yes. And there were a lot of those little small houses where the workers lived. Well, on this farm, they also had several shepherds, big dogs with kind of shaggy fur.
Yeah.
And they were always out in the yard. They were sort of protective. But I loved animals. I had a dog at home. This one afternoon, I was out on the porch area. My mother wasn't around, and my dad was, and it's a good thing, but they were feeding the dogs, and they had these big bowls that they were putting the food out in. And I toddled over, and I put my arm over one of the shepherds. Well, the shepherd obviously thought that I was going to take the food.
Oh, boy.
The dog turned and grabbed me by the arm or shoulder and dragged me down the steps and into the yard and was over me, ready to bite me in the neck. And my dad shot the dog and killed him on top of me.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. My mother came screaming out, and my mother saw this dog bleeding and on me, and she didn't know if the bullet had gone through the dog and killed me too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unfortunate that you got attacked by a dog, but thank God your father was, we
Yes.
wouldn't have you right here.
And he was a really good shot. He really was. Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy you can't remember. That's like dramatic. Like,
It was,
oh my
well,
God. I'm sure you were, as a kid.
For a
my
while,
God.
I was really afraid of those dogs. They were big dogs, and I was still little, but I thought that all dogs were like my little dog I had at home.
Yeah.
So it was a frightening thing, and I survived it. And I still love dogs, but I am cautious around large dogs.
It's funny you say that. I actually just got bit by a dog 4th of July weekend. My neighbor it was like the first week they had their dog down. They bought the house, I think, last year or whatever. And I went to pet the dog. Dog took a bite. One of the canines went right through my knuckle, so you can see the little hole. But it went through, it was enough where it needed like a stitch or two. I didn't do it, but
yeah.
I'm happy it happened to me, because if it was a kid, but I haven't seen the dog since. I don't know. I don't know what. They did, but that was for me. I'm you kind of have to control your dog. I wasn't gonna press charges or do anything like that. No. That's not me. There was nothing. It was just one thing. But it took a bite. It wasn't like a playful bite. It was, hey, I'm coming for you, and it missed my hand, but just the one canine went in.
Yeah.
Dogs, obviously, it's all, a big part of it is how they're raised and trained, but ultimately that's in their genetics.
I know.
They're household pets, but at one point they were wild animals. They have that in their DNA.
Right. Well, I still love dogs. I don't want to talk badly about dogs.
No, I love them. They're great, but you got to be careful.
You got to be careful.
It was 2 or 3 episodes ago, you dropped the UFO story on us.
Yes.
And now you're dropping this one. It's
this is out of a movie.
I know. Just wrap it up. What else can you say? Obviously an awful experience, but
it's terrible.
That definitely shaped who you are.
Yes.
Big time. Wow.
Yes.
Well, we are so glad that it didn't go any worse than it could have.
Yes.
Or than it did.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's, props to your father too for not hesitating too, because I imagine there was a few seconds delay and the dog got to you. You don't know. That was such that's fight or flight at that point.
Right. And when my dad would tell the story to, telling other people occasionally about this story, and he had a shotgun, must have been right there out on that porch for whatever reason, because he was able to grab it quickly and shoot the dog.
He got it with a shotgun?
He shot the dog with a shotgun.
Probably like a slug or something.
I don't know. It wasn't with a handgun. It was with a shotgun.
But you were, besides the dog bite, you were unscathed.
Yeah. Just the dog bite. I did have a bite. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well.
So on to some Fran Mail.
Yeah. Okay. Let's all right.
What do we got?
This one just came in before I headed over here for a recording, and it's just, what's the big rush? Just kind of let's highlight the importance of stopping to smell the roses. Fran, you are an expert on this.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, every single day of your life, you still need that still time. It can be first thing in the morning, early, happy that you have another day. Or it could be in the middle of a busy day, but you need a break.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself 10 minutes, even just 10 minutes, and walk outside. It's best if you can be outside. And that's because you have all of that life greeting you. All the trees and the plants and the animals, the birds, all of that helps you to calm down and realize that most of the things you are concerned about won't matter 100 years from now.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah.
Right.
Any advice for our listeners that are in more urban settings?
Well, that's interesting because you still need, I think, the fresh air. If there's a place where you can walk outside, just be outside. If you have to be inside, then find a room that's really still, hopefully with plants, something that's alive. And just sit down for a moment and clear your head and listen to that inner voice. That inner voice knows everything. You have to remember that. And it does solve a lot of problems.
Justin, anything you want to add on? And this will be interesting to hear because you're one of the busiest people I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying you rush around, but you always keep a full plate. So it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts.
It's funny because, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday I actually took time. I sat down outside because I'm getting to a point now. I'm like, I have so much, going on with work, and which is nice now because since February I've been working full time for myself, and it's been great.
Yes.
But it's allowing me to kind of build my schedule,
right.
And also I have time to do more, more of the creative things that I'm passionate about. And one of them is, even this podcast, and my woodworking, carpentry, like writing my sketch comedy, even doing stand-up. There's so much. So I actually took time to just sit outside. I'm like, I want to write down, breaking it into 5 sections. I'm going to write out, here's work, here's creative, here's personal, here's reflective, and then here's woodworking. I put woodworking on a separate thing because it's like that could go under creative, but there's more to it than just being, creative. So I wrote, and under each of those things, I wrote down, like, even in my job, I'm like, all right, like, what do I have my everything that I do, like every kind of facet I cover. So I have buying, consulting, being a sales rep, all that. I wrote down all of them. Then I wrote down all the creative things that I'm currently doing. Then I wrote down the creative things that I want to be, or that are on the back burner. Maybe I don't have time. So I kind of put everything out in front of me. And then even the personal side, or like the reflective side, it's like, take time out of each day to like be mindful of the road you kind of went on. And you don't have to make it known to anybody, but like you need to, still take that with you. So I'm trying to cut out, like, so what I'm doing is kind of building a schedule for myself for Monday through Friday, or actually, weekends. I guess weekends are going to be looser because I can, if I want to work, I can work. If I want to go play, I can play. So I really have the freedom there. But there's certain things that I can be in control of my schedule, and there's certain things like with work where I can't. Like if I depending on my calls and when I schedule them, I'm going with what's convenient for a couple different companies. So I think finding, if I can just put in place a plan, even to take care of myself, even like personal, the personal things and the creative things, like, and dedicate time on these days to do that. I think that I'll hold myself accountable, and that's what I'm working on right now.
Great.
So I feel good. Like I've been up early every day, 6:30, 7, start immediately, with the emails, planning my day. And then I, just break up my day with all different things.
Wonderful.
And then by the time it's like 9 o'clock, I'm like, the day's gone.
Right.
But I make sure not to work straight.
So you're finding having that schedule makes it feel like less of a rush.
Yes.
And that you could schedule in times to exhale.
Yep.
Good. Fran, I just wanted to mention a story or just something about you that has always stuck with me. As you know, I've been over here many times to shovel snow. But I remember you telling me years and years ago how you would go outside with a sheet of black paper.
Oh, yes.
And just catch snowflakes.
Yes.
So you could look at their shape.
Yes.
And that has, for years, I've thought about that. And every time, I've seen, caught a snowflake myself, I've kept that in mind. So I always thought that was such a great way to slow down and enjoy the little things. Literally, how small is a snowflake?
well, one of my last years teaching, I was so glad that I had a classroom that was close to the doors that you could exit in case there was a fire or for a fire drill. And wouldn't you know, we would have a gorgeous snow. So I had a whole packet of black paper. And everybody in the class, I said, come on, kids, you don't have any coats or anything. We won't stay out there long, but I want you to really see a good snowflake. So we went out there and we left those doors propped open, which I'm sure was cold for the school. But all of a sudden, the principal was there watching us. And the principal stood there watching us for a long time. And the kids were so excited. It was though they had never seen a snowflake. You really must do this. I gave them all that black piece of paper to take home that day. And I still always have black paper handy. And whenever it snows, I'm out there. I have to do it.
Take time.
Don't even think to do it. Just go out. You just know to do it.
Take time to enjoy snowflakes.
I do it.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of those, I mean, I think back to, like, I think we talked about this on the previous episode, just how many teachers stick out to me. Like, I always like the teachers that kind of went above and beyond. Like, there's not, and I feel like, I don't want to say nowadays or whatever, like, I have a few teachers that I've learned a good lesson from that I remember their name, but think of all the teachers you have. I don't remember anything about them. You know what I mean? There wasn't any like memorable moment. So I think that you were probably one of the more memorable teachers for majority of the kids that walked into that class.
I think that'd be very difficult for anyone. Like imagine if every single one of your teachers had like a memorable like moment. I mean, everyone does. It's just in like you've had dozens of teachers, and to remember dozens of exact moments would probably be challenging. And also when you're younger, it's tough to appreciate.
You're not in the
things.
moment. Yeah. Actually, you're younger. You're probably most in the moment with everything just surrounding you, and it's gone. Where now we're a little more, as you're older, a little more attentive. Interesting.
Nice. All right. So everyone out there, exhale. Exhale again.
Yeah.
And don't forget to inhale. You got to breathe too. Kevin's just telling you exhale. Keep exhaling.
Catch your breath. Smell the roses always. Yeah, I like, when I go on walks, just looking at things and keeping an eye out for what's going on. The other day I was on a walk and all of a sudden just caught like the moon rise. Like we were talking before, it's a full moon and it was big, and the moon looks bigger when it's lower on the horizon. It just looked so cool.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Some other Fran mail that came in. This is from a listener that has a lot of passions, whether it's work or places they've been, skills they have. And they're wondering, is there a moment when you know what your passion is? And if that moment exists, does that help with getting over the restlessness you may feel?
Well, I personally think that all these things that you have talents for can be used in just many situations. It can be something that is needed in any community in which you live. But the thing that you have to discover is that wonderful feeling on the inside when you feel like you've come home. You know that feeling when you have been gone a long time and it's a long journey, that a lot of things were difficult, but now you're coming home. And it's a kind of rest that you feel, that a safeness that you feel, an acceptance that you feel. That's the feeling. And when you find that job, it's not like working. You're doing something you love to do, and you have that sense of peace about you. And then you're not restless anymore.
You got to feel like you're home. I like that.
Yeah.
You're home.
It's where time kind of, you're not looking at the clock, where you just know time's passing and whatever you're doing, you're enjoying.
Yes.
I like that a lot. You're not looking at the clock.
Nope. Not anymore.
Yeah. Find a job where you don't look at the clock.
I wouldn't even say too, like, find it necessarily a job that you don't look at the clock. Like, I mean, a lot, because some people don't have that option. Like, you have to provide, you need it, you have a job. Yeah. But you find something in life where that does it. That gives you that sense of, okay, I feel right doing this.
Exact. That feeling.
Yeah.
That's it.
And when you find it, hang on to it.
That's it.
Absolutely. I like those answers. It's really good stuff, guys. And then, moving on just a little bit here. Some of the listeners out there remember our guest producer, Steve.
Great guy.
Yeah.
What a guy. We miss him. We miss Steve.
Come
Oh,
back,
yeah.
Steve, please.
You heard it, Steve?
Yeah. So he's living out west and he's doing like a minor move right now. And this question is, we've all moved here. So he was wondering, though, from you, Fran, what material goods have played a positive role in your life? And what have you held on to that hasn't given you much in the long run? Because he's trying to condense, trying to declutter, if you will.
We did that over and over again because...
How many times did you move?
9 times.
There it is.
We're going to get a shirt that says we've 9 different states. Wait, move 9 times, 9 different states. Whatever the tagline is, we got to get it.
Early on, IBM was moving us, so I didn't have to be so concerned about that. Okay. But later on, when we started to move ourselves, and you have to pay for that move, then you start to look at, okay, let's look at this. And I can tell you that first you want to be sure that you have the things in the kitchen that you really need, because we're all going to need to eat. Mm-hmm. All right. So really good pots and pans, everyday dishes, everyday glasses, everyday silverware. And the reason I'm saying that is because I also had boxes of very fragile teacups and saucers and beautiful
Where are those
dishes.
Teacups, saucers?
I sold them. I sold them to a tea house.
Okay.
Actually in New Jersey.
Cool.
Because I kept them all many, many years and many, many moves, and I never used them. They were magnificent, but they were difficult to take care of. They had gold on them. You had to hand wash everything. Couldn't go in the dishwasher. Couldn't go in the microwave. Couldn't go in, it just was a problem using them. And they were very pretty. Mm-hmm. So I did sell them, and I know they were my mother's and she loved them. But they're being used. And people can go and have tea now and say, isn't this the most beautiful cup you ever saw? And they were. Okay, so you want everything from the kitchen that you're going to use all the time. Good things. Be sure you always invest in good pots and pans. If you want your food to taste really good, you've got to have good cookware.
Mm-hmm. And Steve is a good cook. He has good for me.
And
Sharp knives.
And
Sharp
good knives. You got to have. You really have to have good knives. Get some chef knives. All right. The other thing is to have really good beds. You want to be able to sleep comfortably wherever you happen to live. We used to backpack, and I can tell you sleeping in some of the tents was not too comfortable. And eventually you get to a point where I don't want to really do that anymore. Unless you have that feeling, it's just not comfortable. Yeah. But when you're moving, be sure you have a good bed and good sheets and good pillows. Everybody has their favorite pillow. Be sure you have that. And of course, one of the most important things are health histories. Be sure that you have everything you need, like a box that has all those important papers in it, so that when you move to a new area and the doctor wants your history, your health history, they always do, you've got it. And you've got to be sure that you keep it with you. Another thing, of course, are family pictures, things like that. Those are treasures. Mm-hmm. And you probably save all your things differently now.
Even medical documents are all digital.
Yeah, it's all digital, which is great. I love my dog.
Everything's different. Just be sure you have all those wonderful things, the family pictures. And and didn't he say something about what do you wish that you hadn't saved all those years?
Yeah, you mentioned the teacups.
Oh, well, it's something else. I have a Tiffany lamp in a closet. I have lugged that Tiffany lamp. To have a Tiffany lamp, that's a great treasure. And I used to have a lot of antiques. I loved them because I like the history. I like to sit at a table that is a couple of 100 years old. I really like that. But all right, I had this Tiffany lamp, and everywhere we would move, and remember, we started moving it ourselves, so it now is broken, okay? But it's in the closet wrapped up, and I still have it, and it is still a treasure, but I probably should not have kept it. We never plugged it in any place we moved. It was my mother's, and I still have it. So I'm just telling you, things like that, those are not real important.
Yeah.
only take those things that are essential to life and keep those. And of course, if you have room in your U-Haul it, you can add some other stuff. I'm looking here to see if I've forgotten
Art.
anything. Oh, music.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to bring all of your music, and if you have art. And
Yeah.
of course, we had a couple of paintings we can never give up.
Yep,
You
I've
know-
got a few of them too.
You know what they are. Can never, and you have to take those.
Mm.
There are certain things like that they're treasures. And your recipe box. If you're a recipe, well, see, you probably keep your recipes online. I have recipes that are handwritten by friends that I loved in 9 states. So I can't let them go. No, they have to come with me. So that's what I recommend. And just remember to keep your roots with you. You are a potted plant. And if you always do that, you can be happy anywhere. Just be happy with the person you're with. That's most important.
And even if it's yourself, you got to be
That's
happy
right.
with yourself.
Oh, me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm never alone.
Mhm.
Right?
Justin, any advice for moving?
Yeah, I mean, she kind of covered. I mean, that's
How
all
about
the
this, Justin?
essentials.
Anything you've carried with you that you look at now, and you're like, why did I haul this around?
No, you know what? I'm pretty good at throwing things out. I take after my father. He is.
You don't hold on to things for long?
No. Where's this going?
No, just a question. Just a question.
But no, my thing is like I'll have like if I own something, right? Like if I have a gift that I don't know if I haven't had it out on display or used it in a year, it's gone. It's getting donated or thrown out. You know, it
good for
depends on what it
you.
is. You have to be like. Because what happens is like you have your house, right? You have where it's decorated a certain way, things are in a certain place.
Yeah.
And then you open up the cabinets or the drawers and there's just shit in there. It's like, well, what is this? What is this? Does this have a purpose? Am I ever going to use that? So I always, display what I want to, and then the other stuff I'll put away. And then a year later, I'll go into the stuff that I put away. Like, all right, some of this stuff can actually go in like a box in the attic or whatever, or some of this stuff needs to get like thrown out. Like there's no sense in having it. Like, you don't know how many like, those little like phone tripods that you where you can put your phone like anywhere.
Yes.
I had like 5 of them. I don't know how. I guess it was just like presents, like Christmas gifts or get whatever it was. Or I'm like, why do I need all these things? I just got rid of all of them. I kept like one. I don't like. There's things you have so many. Like you end up acquiring.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback.
My grandma's got to
to
stop shopping at TJ Maxx. Is what I say every Christmas.
I'm going to piggyback on that. Something I've done for the past couple of years is if I feel like my life is getting too cluttered, I'll go through all my drawers, I'll go through the closet and get rid of what I can. And then like 4 to 6 weeks later, I'll do it again. She'll be like, in the past month or two, has this meant anything to me? And I find that makes it easier to get rid of things. It's like, for the past 2 months, like I haven't even thought about this. Why am I still holding on to it?
Yep.
So that's what worked for me. One more question before we wrap it up here. Fran, what is the most beautiful cup you've ever seen? You mentioned that those teacups were so beautiful that someone would say that. Do you know?
It was my mother's teacups. They were beautiful. They had a beautiful, beautiful handle, and they had roses and gold around the top and a precious little foot or bottom on the cup. And then each one of the saucers, they were magnificent. Each a work of art.
Wow.
And she loved them. And she would be thrilled to sit at the table and have one in front of her. But my mother used to dress for dinner. That's what she thought, that you had your day dress and then in the evening you had your evening dress. And she liked to dress up. She was a very beautiful woman.
Wow. Yeah. I don't have any dresses. I don't have a day dress. I don't. I have a nightgown.
Do you have an idea in your head of the most beautiful cup you've ever seen?
Ooh.
I'm a big hockey fan. Can I say the Stanley Cup?
Oh,
Stanley Cup's pretty. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually have this one Grand Canyon tea mug at home that I favor. So if like I'm making tea for myself and someone else, I always keep that one for myself.
I love it. Isn't it nice to have something like that?
Yeah.
It's a treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Not as beautiful as what you described,
Yeah.
but
I've seen what you're talking about though, where they have the gold. It's like gold leafing, and then they glaze it. And it's I mean,
gorgeous.
they are
Gorgeous.
stunning. I've seen.
Yep.
I'm trying to think where I've seen them, but I have seen stuff
They're
like that.
Just they belong in a museum.
Yeah.
You know, today's life is so different.
Today everything's mass produced. Throw a sticker on it, call it a day.
Yeah.
what was that show? Antique Roadshow?
Yes.
Maybe saw it on that.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
like the one, the Storage Wars, or where they
Oh,
buy the
yeah.
storage containers. 'Cause I had a storage container for like 3 or 4 years in California. I'm like, I was always paying it, but there was always a thought in my head. I'm like, maybe I'll see my storage unit on there.
Oh man. Yeah, someone else did eventually get all the stuff in it, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I'm happy to wrap it up here. I mean, I gotta pack. I'm
We're
heading
good on
to
time.
Alaska.
That's right. You're going to be gone.
I'm gonna be gone.
Bringing a bathing suit,
I may bring one. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
flip flops. Just thinking, man.
Yeah. I got a list.
All right.
Yeah. So for those listening, when this comes out, I should be in Alaska. If all
Yes.
goes as planned.
Right.
And we may be taking a week, maybe 2 off to
Right.
summer recess, if you will,
Right.
Mhm.
and then we'll be back at it. So be sure to follow us on Instagram,
Yes.
Tea with Fran podcast there. Subscribe on YouTube. Got a couple subscribers. Let's get some more. That's also Tea with Fran podcast on YouTube. Of course, you can connect with us via email as well.
Yes.
teawithfranmail@gmail.com. And then you could also just reach out to us directly if you know us. If not, contact us through one of those
Mhm.
channels. I'm
Great.
Off to Alaska for you.
off to Alaska.
I know.
Right.
Wonderful.
Good times ahead for all of us.
Right.
Till next time.
Till next
Absolutely.
time, be good to yourself and good to the earth.
And look
Amen.
for beautiful cups.